Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Oak Forest Audio. Tonight, I want to talk about a topic as a whole and kind of reintroduce my channel with a slightly different focus. I want to do that by telling you guys a little bit about how I got into the hobby and what my priorities are as a listener, as well as what my goal is and my priority with the channel as a whole. So the premise for the video, the title, the topic we're going to explore is Hi-Fi. What does it mean, and does it really matter? So I grew up listening to a lot of music. My father played guitar when I was little. He had both a 12-string acoustic and a nylon string. He had a collection of guitars, and he was always strumming, playing, and singing to me. That's my introduction kind of to music, was through him. As a kid, Dad was in and out, caused a little bit of stress, but my mother, as I was an older child, would go to jazz shows outside with her friends, and I would be able to accompany. So I got introduced to jazz music through a primarily live setting. So her friends are drinking wine and I'm just, sitting there 6 or 7, kind of chilling, enjoying the music. And I really did like it. So I had folk as a very young child. I got used to jazz as a, elementary to middle school kid. And so towards the end of middle school, going into high school, I started to have to take the bus, right? 8th grade year, mom's like, it's time for the bus. Let's get you used to that. When high school starts, I'm going to need you to bus back and forth. So the bus ride for me was like an hour. We lived in the middle of nowhere, and it was a long ride. So I'm like, I want to have music to listen to. So I got a CD player. My friends would share music with me. I'd listen to like my favorite songs, stuff like the Chili Peppers, the Clash, stuff like Nirvana, the Smashing Pumpkins, for example, Radiohead, a lot of what was popular towards the end of the late 90s, early 2000s. And I had a very basic set of Sony headphones. So I got used to that listening environment. And eventually, I kind of circled back around to my memories of my dad playing folk music and then listening to jazz at shows. And I was like, hey, I think I want to start listening to this stuff again on my ride to school. Popular music got a little bit dry. I knew all the lyrics and whatnot. I wanted something different. But I didn't know how to get a hold of any folk music, or really any jazz music, because I was a young man. I was getting music from my friends, and they got it from like their brothers and sisters, who got it from like Walmart. And yes, I'm sure there's a jazz and folk section at Walmart, but my friends' siblings and, they weren't really looking to buy that stuff for themselves. So I had to kind of find it for myself. And as luck would have it, my mom worked on a street in the middle of this place called like Conway. She worked for a print shop, and on the same street as the print shop was a music shop. And lo and behold, when I walk into the music shop, there's CDs and vinyl all over the place. And I asked the guy, I'm like, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. I'm like, do you have any jazz or folk? And he's like, of course. But, I need you to be more specific. So I found the music shop, right? Didn't have any money, but I would have that hour-long bus ride in the morning. I would take the bus into town. I didn't even take the bus into town. I'd walk literally from the middle school and 8th grade to where my mom worked. Eventually, as I got to high school, I would again take the bus into freaking town, get off, and walk where my mom was at work. But so I'm walking into the music shop, and I get to hear jazz and folk in the music shop through his system. And I'm excited. I found this music again. It's just like how I remember it. I'm like loving it. I'm really jazzed, really pumped up. So I finally save up my money. I buy a CD. I go home. I get up in the morning. I slap it into my little Sony CD player. I had saved up additional money to get the non-skip upgraded CD player because I really wanted to enjoy the music. And I'm on the bus. I pop on my headphones. I plug in. I crank the volume up, and I'm disappointed. Listening to jazz, I don't even remember the CD to be honest, but listening to jazz on my CD player and my little, Sony headphones was nothing like what I heard in the music shop. It was nothing like what I remember hearing growing up. So I go back to the shop. I'm like, I need to return this. I don't like it. He's like, well, you liked it in store? And I was like, yeah, but when I got home, I didn't like it anymore. It's not what I remembered. It just, I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't the same. He agreed. He gave me my money back. I still felt like a jerk, so I actually bought a Marmaduke comic book from him. and I paid like full price because it was apparently a collectible or something. Great comic book, loved reading it as a kid. But I was like, why is it not the same? I asked the guy, and he's like, well, I've got a system here that is for the purpose of enjoying the music and demonstrating it. It makes sense that when you go home, it's not quite the same. He's like, dude, I'm sorry to hear that that's the case. So whatever, I give up on jazz. I'm definitely not going to go into folk because it's just going to be the same experience. So now, picture me moving towards the end of high school year, like 2010, 2011. I discovered dubstep for the first time. And I'm hearing it on my friend's headphones. My friend had a Sony XP500. I'm hearing it like at my friends' houses through like their parents' stereo. This stuff is great. It's really freaking lit. I love it. And I'm like, before I get this music for myself, I bet I'm going to need to get something different. I don't want to have the same experience with dubstep that I had with jazz in the past. So where do I wind up but like Hifi to figure out what I need to get the same quality, of listening and engagement for dubstep that I've heard at my friends' houses on their parents' speakers and from those Sony XP500s. And after doing a bunch of research, I settle on a Sony XP700, and then I plug it into my, my little iPod. It's not loud enough. Crap. So I get like a little FiO, I want to say an E5, the old plastic one. Black plastic, the like blue corner that was clear in the clip on the back. And I'm daisy chaining. Headphone out, into amplifier, into my headphones, bass boost on, and I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is really nice. So I'm like, all right, let's try jazz again. And it's not the same. So I'm like, okay, I can figure this out. So my thoughts are, let's figure this out. I found a good set of headphones to really enjoy the dubstep. There has to be something that will make jazz music sound like I remember it. And then I stumble upon the DT880. I figure, you know what, let me get rid of the iPod, let me switch to like a different music player. So I get a DT880 and I get a JDS Labs Seymour with bass boost. And that is my first like actual hi-fi system. I actually get the line out cable, right? The line out cable for my iPod to run into my Seymour, my bass boost, my JDS Labs Seymour with bass boost. I get some jazz and I'm like, yes! Finally, it sounds like how I remember it. So, what is hi-fi? Why does it matter? Does it matter? For me, the importance of hi-fi or high fidelity was to be able to listen to music and not feel like something's wrong or something's off. Fidelity specifically refers to accuracy or truth or loyalty. So a high fidelity playback system is loyal to the sound of the music or loyal to the origins, as it were. What are the origins of music? Music is recorded in a studio by musicians, captured by microphones, and then distributed. And so when you get a high fidelity system, it should reproduce that music loyally. It should reproduce that music faithfully. And there's one company that I feel has really encapsulated hi-fi for everybody, and I think that's iFi. So this is really a review for the iFi Zen DAC. What I appreciate about iFi is part of their mantra, their slogan is, right, studio quality music as intended. The problem is with some of those very consumer grade systems, there's a lot of noise, there's a lack of fidelity, there's a lack of truth, and a lack of accuracy. And if you're like myself and you're a lover of music and you grew up with live music and a lot of talented musicians, sometimes you may listen on a system and it doesn't add up, and it's sad and it's frustrating and it's disappointing, and it kind of sucks. Not everybody is like that. Some people are going to be able to listen on their headphones that come with their iPhone, on the headphones that come with their Galaxy phone, and it's amazing. And I'm envious of you guys. But if you're here, if you're at my channel, if you have an interest in hi-fi, I believe it's because you're like me and your memory of music is strong and you're wanting to recreate that. I got to talking with a friend of mine and she was like, my impression of this hi-fi industry is the whole goal is to remove the barrier of not being there. And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. The whole point of hi-fi is transparency, to remove the barrier of not being there. And what I like about iFi is I've seen them grow as a company, and recently with their Zen DAC and also their DSD Neo, right? I've seen them really kind of just rocket forward in terms of the value that they offer and really represent high fidelity at price points that are manageable. What I love about ZenDac specifically is the price. ZenDac is just $129.99. That's it. You can plug a USB cable into the back of it. The cable has a pin out for both power and data, and that's all you need to get started. I like the ZenDac with my Galaxy Tab. I have a little cable that takes the Type-C to a USB-A, and I plug it in. I listen with my Sennheiser HD 560S headphones, and it's enjoyable. I can listen to a lot of the music that I love. I can discover new music and new musicians, and the music sounds right. Now, you guys who've been following me know that my reference system is pretty top of the line. My reference is the Berkowski M3H, which is an absolutely phenomenal system. I run it fully, not wireless, but I run it without Windows through Ethernet, right, networked. I pull the data out of my system, my computer, run it Ethernet, run it networked to the Berkowski M3H with direct stream, and it's amazing. My headphones of choice are my Stax 009, and then I've got a Millionaire Audio 2-band, and that system is transparent and true to life like nothing I've ever heard. That said, for 129 bucks, I can come home from work, plug in, pop on a pair of headphones, and still enjoy my music. I can still listen without that feeling of disappointment. You know, and for me, that's the importance of hi-fi, is to be able to enjoy your music as intended and to really be able to appreciate and engage with what is being presented, what has been captured. You know what I mean? So, ZenDac is $129.99. What I really love about this product is that not only is the price aggressive, not only is it technically an all-in-one that is both portable and suitable for desktop use, but there is an easy and kind of worthwhile and accessible upgrade path. I listened with my Sennheiser HD 560S, a headphone that I really like. I also listened with my Mr. Speakers / Dan Clark Audio / combination with Drop Ether CX. The Ether CX likes a little bit more power than what the single-ended circuit has. So what I appreciate about ZenDac is I was able to switch to the fully balanced output, and I was really impressed with how it did with the Mr. Speakers Ether CX. That fully balanced circuit is what the ZenDac is designed to operate as, and I feel it is its best in that circuit. Now, again, I appreciate that for $130 with just the 560S, only single-ended, I still enjoyed it. But it means a lot to me that there's an upgrade path that gives me even more enjoyment with a technically superior, more resolving and detailed headphone like Ether CX. What I also appreciate is I can take it a step further. CX is kind of a difficult load to drive, so iFi has their dedicated iPower X and iPower options. These give you the ability to use USB for just data and have a dedicated power supply. And that, again, gives me some improvements. When I use the dedicated 5-volt in with the iFi iPower X, the CX especially gets a little bit more tautness in the bass, a little bit more impact and slam. The dynamic contrast is a little bit more vivid, and I really appreciate it. So the circuit gives me a little bit more detail, a little bit more transparency, a little bit more texture in terms of how the music is, and then upgrading again to have that dedicated power supply just tightens up the bass and gives me more power and slam and impact. But now, how does it compare to other options that are around 200 bucks? Yes, the base iFi ZenDac is $130. If you purchase something like a balanced cable, this cost me $30, you're at now $160. If you get the iFi iPower X, these are like $100, you're at $260. However, there is a Black Series, simply the iFi iPower, that is also very good, that's 50 bucks. So, the fully upgraded, right, the fully realized and materialized ZenDac is like 210. How does that compare to stacks that are 200 and like 260? Specifically, let's start with how it compares to the ToppingE E30 and L30. First and foremost, you guys have heard a lot of news about the ToppingE L30 specifically, if you own this amplifier and the serial is not 2012, if your serial starts with anything less than 2012, please contact your representative, contact your distributor, and get a replacement. The L30 has had a problem with failure. ToppingE has addressed it, and they have started to issue replacements that are the 2012 serial and up. That being said, I find that the E30 L30 stack is more aggressive than the ZenDac. There's more texture, there's more dynamic contrast, there's more slam, there's more impact, it's more aggressive, it's more in your face, which is nice with some headphones and nice with some music, but sometimes it just doesn't feel quite natural. It's too in my face. It's a little bit distracting. But some of you may like that, some of you may want that, some of you may enjoy that. There are some genres of music that are really enjoyable with that added aggression. There are some headphones that are really enjoyable with that added aggression. As a matter of fact, the fully single-ended E30 L30 stack was really nice with the Sennheiser 560S. The 560S has kind of a mellow presentation to it, and I like the aggression to help it be a little bit more focused at times. Another system, let's compare the ZenDac to another system, and this is the fully realized, kind of brand new JDS Labs Atom stack. This is the Atom DAC and the Atom Amp. What I appreciate about this stack is it is, in my opinion, more transparent than the iFi. What I like about the iFi, about the ZenDac, is there's a sense of weight, there's a sense of body, there's a touch of emphasis on the trailing edge of sounds. So decay, sustain, and release are slightly exaggerated. This means that vocals are a little bit fuller, vibrato has a little more discernment, but sometimes that added body, that added fullness can mute dynamic contrast and mute texture. Texture is going to be like if I'm fretting, for example, the way that a musician plays their instrument, the way that a musician realigns their strings as they're performing, as they're playing. And for some genres of music, that texture, that technical difference from musician to musician becomes a part of the music. That detail becomes a part of the music. And I feel that the Atom stack does a really good job at representing that without being too aggressive. Really, I find it's a very neutral stack. Now, the problem with the Atom stack is power. I don't enjoy my Ether CX with the Atom stack. So I feel like the Atom stack kind of lacks flexibility. I'll say this, my HD600 with the Atom stack was phenomenal. I was very satisfied. My HD600 with the E30 L30 is too aggressive. The ZenDac, I feel, while it's not as transparent, it's not as aggressive, strikes the proper amount of balance to make it more flexible overall. You know, it's got that touch of body, that little bit of touch of magic, that slightly emphasized and very beautiful harmonic presentation that pairs really well with a lot of music and that pairs really well with a lot of headphones. All in all, first and foremost, a shout out to the iFi team for letting me spend some time with the ZenDac. A shout out to the iFi team for everything that they've done for the community. I have seen these guys really just improve over the years. You guys may remember my old review of I think it's the iCan or something, and I wasn't impressed. But I have seen them continue to improve and to pursue their mantra, their goal, their presence. You know, I remember when I did the X-Can. I didn't like the X-Can either. When I did the iCan special edition review, the representative was like, "Well, I feel like you don't appreciate the presentation that we appreciate." Difference of opinion. I said, I respect that. Let me leave it at that. But I feel like they have continued to perfect and pursue the absolute very best way to present that presentation, that touch of magic, that just a presentation that has body, that has fullness, that has weight, a presentation that has a richness to it without being overbearing or soft. And I think for $130, $129.99, there isn't another product that does quite what the ZenDac does. It also, guys, if you didn't know this, it does MQA. It also, if you didn't know this, has the option to do a fully balanced line out. And yes, I did have a chance to run my ZenDac into my fully balanced Stax 009 system, and I was a little blown away. You know, it does so much. And I really feel like these guys have embodied Hi-Fi. They really represent and make Hi-Fi accessible to everybody. And the importance for Hifi for me was to be able to be fully immersed in my music. And music has it's so important to me. You know, 2020 was a rough year. A lot of crazy stuff happened, and I find a lot of comfort, a lot of peace. You know, music helps me find my Zen. Music helps me reach that moment of Zen where I can relax, rest my shoulders, calm down, and recharge. You know, that is the importance of Hifi for me. I hope that you guys come to my channel and my reviews help you find systems that give you that moment of Zen so that you can be fully immersed in your music and just enjoy it and just melt into it. You know, that's my purpose with this channel. I don't get paid for these reviews. I am going to be introducing affiliate links, so if you like a product, you make a purchase through that link, that just supports the channel. I want to go about the affiliate link route because I don't want to show ads to you guys. And I think the people who should pay me for my work are the people who profit. I don't feel right asking for donations because I know that everybody right now is really trying to focus on the things that are important and make purchases that are worthwhile. And again, what I love about the ZenDac is that price point, that $130 entry point that gets you a really solid Hi-Fi system. Guys, I thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments and questions below, like and subscribe, and take a moment to share this. If you have suggestions, if you have other questions in terms of comparisons, absolutely leave them. I hope all of you are having an amazing 2021 so far, and until next time, thank you for watching and happy listening.